Hi, and welcome to another Late Night Film Series podcast with Alex, Allie, and Paige. You guys want to say hello so people know who you are?
Howdy, guys.
Hey, guys.
That was the first mistake we ever made on the podcast. It was me, Brooks, and Andrew. And I just said, hey, this is Alex, Brooks, and Andrew. And we continued on, and no one had any idea who was who. Yeah, I think we've been getting better and better as we go along, though. Making less mistakes. Speaking of no mistakes, this next week at Late Night is amazing. This is possibly the most excited I am for a week all year. Especially, 2001: A Space Odyssey. I've said this every time I've hosted for the past, 3 weeks. It's like, we're having 2001. It's my favorite movie of all time. Go see 2001.
It's Stanley Kubrick, right?
Yep, Stanley Kubrick.
I think we at Late Night have kind of a secret love affair with his movies. So we're showing 2001. Then last semester was A Clockwork Orange.
And Full Metal Jacket
and
before
Full
that.
Metal Jacket. Yeah, that was the semester before that.
Yep.
So we every single semester.
At least one semester.
Yeah.
Kind of like him and the Coen brothers are the two ones we show a lot of their films.
Mm-hmm.
True.
They're my two favorite director and sets of directors, though. So there you go.
What else has he directed?
Kubrick,
Shining, right?
The Shining, 2001, Full Metal Jacket, Clockwork Orange, Doctor Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb. That's one of my favorite movies, too. My dad tried to show me a lot of his movies, though, when I was 12 years old. Mm-hmm. And you have to have a little more of an attention span than a 12-year-old to enjoy it.
Yeah. He's definitely an acquired taste, I think.
Oh, for sure.
That was my problem with 2001. I've seen it before, but I was in high school, and I didn't really care. I didn't commit to it, you know what I mean? I was just oh, this movie is on, and I was just oh, okay. It was just, out there, and I was I have no idea what?
Yeah, it's if you don't know exactly what you're getting into, it's a very strange experience.
Yeah.
The first, I think, 10 to 15 minutes, there's no dialogue at all. It's set up in really cool, 4 separate acts, and I can't talk too much about the second and third act because it gives a little bit away. But the first act is, it's called The Dawn of Man, and it just shows all of, ancestors of humans figuring out how to use tools. And there's one really iconic scene where one of them grabs a bone and figures out he can use it as a weapon. He starts smashing all the other bones, and it takes a whole another shift from there. It sounds really corny to say that a movie tells the story of the human condition. If you're making fun of film critics, that's what you say they say.
Well, but kind of every movie comments on the human condition.
That's true.
That's why stories exist.
Yeah, if you want to get philosophical or whatever.
That's true.
Is 2001, is that an original screenplay, or is it based off of a book? Or
No,
what?
it's based off of a book.
Okay.
Kubrick only actually did, I think it was 2 films that weren't based off of pre-existing books or short stories.
And that would be Doctor Strangelove, I'm assuming, is one of them?
I believe so. Yeah. There were, I think Strangelove he wrote, and then there was one other I can't recall. He made a number of films in his day.
Okay. Well, don't hold us to that, because I don't know.
Yeah.
Fact check.
But the guy that wrote the book, I think Arthur C. Clarke. Yeah, Arthur C. Clarke wrote the book, and he co-authored the screenplay with Kubrick.
Oh, that's really nice.
Yeah, so it's not too far off from the book like a lot of films can get.
What is the book like if the first chunk, that first chunk of the movie, they don't say anything? What's the book like in that chunk? You know what I mean?
It's a lot of really descriptive, vivid visual imagery.
I'm how do you write about ooh.
Yeah, it would be a tough one, but it's a lot of visual stuff.
I was reading an article on Cracked about all of these prehistoric technologies in buildings and architecture that shouldn't exist from when they were created. And I was what does that mean?
Yeah, he kind of touches on all that technology and extraterrestrial influence and that kind of stuff in the film as well. It's just one of the best films. And visually, it's incredible, especially for 1968. It won the Academy Award for Best Visual Effects.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Swanky.
Mm-hmm. So we have a lot of Oscar-winning films this week.
We tend to pick the good ones.
Yeah, we do. Yeah. And then especially The Lady seems really good, too. We talked a little bit about last week.
Mm-hmm. This is going to be the grand finale of international film series Burma Rising. So we took you through Burma Soldier. That was the movie about the soldier turned pro-democracy advocate turned political prisoner turned being exiled and going to the United States. And then tonight, or I guess since this goes out on Monday, so
yeah, it goes out on Tuesdays.
Yeah, so last week it'll have been Burma VJ, which follows kind of the revolution as a whole, started by the Buddhist monks and their political protests against the military regime. And then finally we're coming to, this one is not a documentary, but it is a biopic, I guess, about Aung San Suu Kyi. She was the daughter of a very influential Burmese military, and I believe he was the first prime minister. Don't hold me to that, but he was very important in politics. And so she kind of steps up and becomes the icon for the democracy movement in Burma. And so it follows her story, and it kind of shows the trials and tribulations of being sort of this national hero who people are looking up to, and then also having your personal life, because she has a family, husband and 2 children. It gets very complicated and very difficult on everybody. So yeah, that's the last film in that series. I thought it'd be good to kind of focus on the national hero for pro-democracy Burma.
Yeah, that'll be really cool.
Yeah, this one, I watched it and I cried.
Oh.
Although I will preface that by saying I am very emotional when it comes to my movies, so I will cry at the drop of a hat, but this one really kind of stays with you after you watch it. Yeah.
It seems like one of the more important films we're showing this semester.
Yeah, it sure does have a certain political importance. You're like, oh, I should know about this, you know what I mean?
Well, it's an issue that not a whole lot of people know about, because Burma or Myanmar is not so much on the international political arena right now. They've been really shut off from the rest of the world. The military regime has completely, cracked down on everybody, the Buddhist monks, the regular population, the minorities located all around the country. Right now they're opening up to international kind of financing and like businesses and stuff, so they're starting to go there, because they predicted that Burma was supposed to be where like China is right now. They were supposed to be the top dog in Southeast Asia.
Oh, wow.
But when the military regime took over, they ruined their economy with horrible laws and stuff. So it's been a struggle, and not a lot of people know about it, but things are still going on. Minorities are still being persecuted, so it's one of those things that people should look up and,
Our whole
Get
Burma
informed.
series. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like our international series and our more informative films. I don't know. It feels like it's something that there should be more in the mainstream.
Yeah.
Because a lot of it's just now, like, at our film series, and people can watch some of that stuff on Netflix, and things like that. You don't see that over at Cinemark or something like along those lines.
You could say it adds a bit of gravity to the film series.
Oh, talk about transition. I loved Gravity, though.
Oh my god, I saw it in 3D like the week after it came out, and it was just I've never been to space, so I can't say it's like being in space. I don't know that for sure, but it's pretty much what you imagine it would be like. It's exactly what you picture it to be. The part with the water droplets and it's floating towards you. It was beautiful.
That was
a great movie.
Visually incredible film.
So without ruining anything, because I haven't seen it and I'm really excited for it, what could they do? I imagine you're out in space, you get stuck out in space, you're kind of floating, and then you die. How do they make that a movie worth people wanting to see it? Yeah, well, there is death, pretty. It has to be. Otherwise, what would you get? What will lock you in? Who's going to live? Who's going to die? What's going to happen? Mm-hmm. But you're pretty settled in the fact that they're not going to die immediately. They're not going to kill Sandra Bullock off in the first 10 minutes. It's not going to happen. So you're okay, I know she has to live at least for a little while. So it keeps pulling you in, okay, what's going to happen now? Mm-hmm. Okay, now she's floating, she's tumbling through space. How do you get out of that? It's gripping. You're I hope for death. I'm just please just let me die now, so I don't have to keep just somersaulting over and over again through space. My God. I feel like that's one of those almost claustrophobic movies, but then not at the same time.
Yes.
There's some shots where it's just inside the helmet looking out.
Yes, and
you're flipping, and you just see her arms in front of her.
It's it's you're tumbling through space, and you're oh my God, I'm gonna die. But
Goes from just blackness, then Earth comes across the visor real quick. Blackness, Earth, blackness, Earth.
Yes.
It's really it's powerful. It's the best word I could come up with for it.
It really is.
And I mean, it won so many Academy Awards.
So many.
It crushed them. It got 7. Best Director, Cinematography, which I thought it absolutely deserved. That was amazing. Film editing, original score, sound editing, sound mixing, and visual effects. So it was very much a sensory film.
Yes, it was.
It makes you feel like you're out there.
Because when I first heard about this movie, like, I was kind of, like, isolated, and I was like, I didn't know anything about it, and I was like, how are they going to make a whole movie about this? Wouldn't it be like, oh, you get disconnected from the shuttle and then you die? It keeps you going. It's like, okay, what's going to happen next? Like, what's the next step in her surviving? What's the next step in Matt, who's played by George Clooney? Like, what's he going to tell her to do next? What's the next strategy? Like, I personally, of course, would never come up with, like, a way to survive in space. So it's like, what is it going to be? How do they make it, you know?
Oh, that's interesting. And the director, didn't he direct? It was Alfonso Cuarón?
Yeah, Alfonso Cuarón.
Didn't he direct Y Tu Mama Tambien?
He may have. I can pull that up real quick, actually.
I think I was reading something and said that I think he was the first Hispanic director to win Best Director.
He did indeed direct Y Tu Mama Tambien.
Okay.
He was also a part of the Pan's Labyrinth team. He was a producer.
Oh, cool.
I think that's just such an interesting jump, though.
Mm-hmm.
Going from, like, I don't know if you've ever seen Y Tu Mama, but it's really good. But, and then, like, Pan's Labyrinth, and then going to something with, like, such heavy, well, I guess Pan's Labyrinth was pretty heavy with
heavy
special
graphics,
effects,
yeah.
but that's an interesting jump.
Yeah, very much so.
I don't know, it's fun to see what directors direct.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they don't want to. I think a lot of them don't want to get locked into one style of directing, so they do a lot of varied stuff. Yeah. For example, the guy that directed, I don't know if you guys have seen it. It's very similar visually to Scanner Darkly. He directed. It was a very like cerebral. It was visually very trippy. Waking Life. The guy that directed Waking Life also directed the Wild Thornberrys movie, I believe it was. It was something along those lines.
That's interesting.
No, I'm wrong. That's not correct.
No.
God, I'm mixing up my... Oh, it was School of Rock. I knew it was like a kid's movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love School of Rock.
Me too.
That was my jam.
It's just so weird how so many directors skip around so much from things like A Scanner Darkly and Dazed and Confused he also did. It's Richard Linklater.
I mean, then you have directors that do, like, a lot of the same things, like Baz Luhrmann, he always has a love story. It's always really, like, aesthetically different, vibrant colors, like, he uses a lot of the same things, while going from School of Rock to a trippy movie is kind of a huge jump.
Yeah.
Huge jump.
Well, hey, I'm going to plug in our guest director.
Yes, of course.
Do that, absolutely.
All right, so guys, March 28th, we have a very special guest. Her name is Dream Hampton. She is a filmmaker, a critic, a writer, and pretty much a BAMF. If you want to follow her on Twitter, you will see her take on the entire internet. She does it with style and grace. Are those the same thing? Synonyms? I don't know. Whatever. But yeah, no, so she is coming on March 28th with the Ruth Ellis Center, which is located in Detroit. Dream Hampton is... What did she do? She was a producer on the VH1's Notorious B.I.G. Documentary. Her short film, I Am Ali, went to Sundance and won Best Short at the Vanity Fair Film Festival. She was a writer for over 15 years to a bunch of magazines. I think a couple were The Source and Vibe. She also helped Jay-Z write his biography, Decoded. So, kind of a big deal. And she will be here, like I said, with the Ruth Ellis Center, and they are one of only 4 in the nation centers that deal with homeless LGBT youth. And they will be here to discuss gender identity and have kind of a conversation about that. And then afterwards, we will be showing her unfinished film, Transparent, which follows Shelley Hilliard, a trans woman in Detroit, was murdered. And it was a hate crime, but wasn't prosecuted as one. And so this film shows kind of her death and how the people in her circle, particularly her friends and her mother especially, how they deal with it and how they grow from that experience. So it's not so much a movie about her death, but almost a celebration of her life. Yeah, so this is like a super sneak peek. The movie's not even done. She's going to be cutting it up and showing us what she's got and talking about it, so you guys get to see a movie in a stage that most directors would not show anybody their work. So this is a great opportunity. It's festival bound. So yeah, definitely come out and check it out. And afterwards, we'll be having a Q&A and discussion with the director and the people from the Ruth Ellis Center and the MLK Center. There will be free food, so there is that. And yeah, and that'll be our first event in our Queer Now series, which will happen in April, so we can talk about that a little later when it gets closer to that. But yeah.
Yeah, this is a big deal.
Yeah,
it's one of the biggest things we've ever done.
Yep. Yeah.
I mean, her accolades speak for themselves. She's done so much, and this film is really another one that's incredibly important. And the fact that we get to see it before it hits the festival circuit.
Right, like we are like the scoop. Like we are seeing it before like anyone else really gets to.
Yep, this is special. I mean,
if nothing else, that like hipster aspect, like I get to see it movie before like anyone else.
I saw that film before it was finished.
I mean, not very many people can say that.
Mm-hmm.
And she was nice enough to, be more than happy to show it to us. So yeah, it's gonna be fun.
That's awesome.
She's really cool too. Mm-hmm. So definitely, come out and have a conversation. It's gonna be great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely check her out online and look up the case, learn a little bit more about what the film's about, and come out to the screening. It's gonna be a great time. Yeah, so that's March 28th. The film, I believe, starts at 7.
Yes, the talk will start at around 5:30. All
Okay.
in Worsham Theater, and as always, it is free.
Always. And punches on the punch card for free drinks and T-shirts.
And free popcorn.
And free popcorn. Always free popcorn.
Combining cards. People have been asking us about that a lot. Like, if you just have, people come to movies all the time, like, oh, I left my punch card. And they have, 8 punch cards where they just have, 1 punch in it. And they're like, oh, can I combine them? We're like, yeah.
Pro tip. You can combine your cards.
Absolutely. I've had someone give me 6 once. I think that's the most.
A girl last night literally bought me 9. She got 2 free T-shirts, and I was just like, I don't even have enough drink coupons for you. Just go get a beverage. I don't know.
I was handing out tickets, and I saw her come up with 2 T-shirt things. I thought she might have just been holding on to them.
No,
wow.
She got those all last night.
That is impressive.
She was like, here you go. And they were just she had 6 from fall. It was just...
So she holds the record with, 9? Let's see who else can beat her, guys. Come on.
The challenge has been thrown down. Bring out more than 9. So yeah, that's I guess that's the Late Night Film Series podcast.
Yeah.
This week, Wednesday, March 12th, we have 2001: A Space Odyssey at 8 p.m. On Thursday, March 13th at 7 p.m., we have The Lady. And Thursday, March 13th at 10 p.m., we have Gravity. So you guys at the movies, and check out Dreamhampton online. That will be Friday, March 28th. Have a good week. See you next week on the Late Night Film Series podcast.